Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and I am joined, as always, by not Rob. He is the guest tonight. We have TJ down below, and we have Chris, the comic vet, pulling off the co-hosting duties
Who
this
is that
evening.
guy?
How are you, gentlemen? Yes.
Don't everybody speak up at once.
I'm
Right?
good.
Oh, I'm having fun pointing. I'm good tonight. I'm doing really well.
So we are here because tonight we are going to go through Rob's last year on YouTube, talk about what's gone on with his channel, what's coming up for his channel, comics curing cancer, the push to 1,000. Rob's had a great year. We're here to celebrate it. But before we get to Rob's fat stacks of comics, we have to do another solid to another usual suspect. And we have to shout out Nick's Kix and Comix, who is past 500. But guys, we got to keep them over 500. So everybody, if you're watching this and you are not subbed to Nick's Kix and Comix, please go over there. One of the most genuine guys in the community, one of the biggest hearts. Go support Nick's Kix and Comix. Keep him over 500. He's over that milestone. Let's do our part to keep him over that milestone. And without further ado, let's put the man who's in the hot seat in the hot seat.
I do.
Rob, what is going on, sir?
Well, it's another day. It's the end of the year. It's December. I wish I could say there was snow in the air, but there's not where I live. But
it's a nice green Christmas.
There's rain in the air, so that's good for California. But it's early in the season, so.
Now, everyone that's watching already knows who you are, obviously. Anyone that might be
Not
new
obviously,
watching you on the rewind, who are you? What's your channel about? And why should people be tuning in?
I'm a fat man with a fat stack of comics and a fat opinion, and I express it here on this medium that allows me to share. Yeah, I'm a mustache and a pair of glasses, some people say. And, I talk about slabs a lot. I have a lot of slabs. I like to slab books. I've used all the slabbing companies. And with Chris the Comic Vet, I host a show called Only Slabs, where we have guests come on and show off their slabs. It's such a great show. In fact, it's an award-winning show. So you may want to check it out yourself. Saturdays at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. That's Only Slabs over on @Rob's Fat Stacks.
And a fun show it is. A show, well,
I'm a
self-promotional
whore.
Right? Well, before we get to that, let's say hi to our chat, and then we'll go over there and talk about that for a minute. So always first. It's hard to beat this guy into anyone's chat. He's almost always first, almost every time. We were talking about, of course, Las Cruces. Not only is he first, he is the most winningest person on YouTube. I don't think anyone wins more than Las Cruces.
Well,
we have Joe from Anachronic Comics.
The more you play, the more likely you are to win. So,
We have one of our co-hosts, Flash by Night Comics, in the house, taking a look. TJ, nice to have you, buddy. Chop and Drop, good evening, sir. Brian LCS, how you doing, sir? And Comics by the Bay, good evening. Jerry the Jitterbug, hello, buddy. How are you? Switch Comics, good evening, sir. And Johnny 5 Alive, good evening, Johnny. KBDM, hello. Psychedelic Comics tuning in, good evening. And we got Lady Fantastic. Caroline, how are you? Nice to see you. You haven't been on a show in a while. You're going to have to join us again. And Flex, there you go. She's already pointing it out. Shoot, Fat Stacks flexing with the trophies. And let's see.
What I do.
Fantastic. And we have
it's going to happen a lot.
Now, let's talk about your show, though, for a second, because it grew from a little idea. It grew. It took on its own life. You were known as another name for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You had to switch it. The show never skipped a beat. Stayed as popular. People tune in every Saturday. They plan some Saturdays around it. You get absolutely great guests. Tell us about the journey of that show over the last year with you and Chris, and what's changed about it, how it's grown, or how you guys look at it now, and how you guys think it's going to develop in the future.
Yeah, so thanks. So Only Slabs started off of a picture I took in my comic cave of my wall of my boxes, my stacks of boxes of slab books, which at the time was so small compared to what it is today. I think back to it because it was like only 13 boxes of slabs.
Only
Um,
13.
yeah, it may have doubled since then. But anyways, the
He's not
somebody
just
said,
flexing the trophy tonight,
yeah,
Caroline.
that's right. Somebody suggested, and that's after I donated a ton of stuff. So somebody suggested, hey, that'd be kind of a cool thing to, kind of maybe show off a box a week or something. You have a lot of content there, and I said, sure, why not? Didn't they? And I didn't really want to sit there by myself and do it. And at the time, one of the former usual suspects, whose face still shows up in the opening feed, Mr. Slotted Up, he and I had already been doing a show together, and I kind of talked to him about it. And he was, well, he says, I'm really kind of got a lot of stuff going on. He says, but who'd be really good is there's this guy, Chris the comic vet, and he'd be great to sit in on me with this. So, all right. So I reached out to this guy, Chris, that I really didn't know all that much right now, and said, hey, our mutual friend Slot suggested you might be a good co-host for this. Would you like to try it? And he's like, oh, sure, why not? And then
Hold on.
magic began.
I gotta jump in. Rob said, hey man, it could be like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks worth of content. What do you think? And I said, okay, man, like when? And he's like, well, like Saturdays, it'd be like 2:30 your time. And I'm like, okay. Okay. I guess I can donate like a few Saturdays for this. And well, it turned out a little differently.
Reeled you in hook, line, and sinker, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
And he's true. Like I think Rob and I may have been in a live stream once together before the whole thing, before Rob reached out to me. I remember, obviously I would tune in and watch Sidekicks if I had time, to be honest. Often I would usually catch the final half of the show because just life is life. And so yeah, I obviously I was aware who Rob was. I had a much better relationship with Slotted Up. Not to say that we were best of friends, but when it comes to the YouTube community, I knew Jason significantly better than I knew Rob. And but yeah, it was at the time. It was like, okay, I had just gotten over that being nervous. I'm still, every time I go live, I get nervous, but being nervous of putting myself out there. And I thought, okay, this could be a big stepping stone for me. I don't know this guy that well at all. Let's give this a go. And
and
hey,
it just worked.
three or 4 Saturdays later, I'm still here. So
Yeah, I mean, it just worked. I mean, the chemistry of, I mean, although it's evolved from the very early episodes, it still was worked really well on bouncing, asking the questions, and hey, what's in that upper right hand corner? And
yeah,
trade
don't
secrets,
give
right?
away my secret.
So, but everyone needs to have their Vanna, right? And you can't have Wheel of Fortune without Vanna. So. But so we got through my books, and then as we're getting, oh, okay, well, I guess this is kind of like the end. And Chris is like, oh, well, I got some slabs I can show. And it's like, great, okay, let's go.
Don't
Let's go
overlook
through
my
it.
slabs.
So
I got a couple.
So Chris starts pulling them out and doing some stuff, and then we just kind of go, what? We start talking. Some of the community members go, yeah, I'd come on, and so that's just how it kind of built. The next thing you know, now we're going out and seeking out people, and I spend a fair amount of time. Planting seeds, uh, planting seeds to get people to come on the show. It gets much easier now because the show has built a following, and there's a lot of people. Even though there's a small number of people in the grand scheme of things that watch it every week, there's a lot of people I'm finding who have seen at least 1 or 2 episodes. I was amazed at Fan Expo walking around how many people I ran into that said, "Oh yeah, dude, you're the only slabs. I've seen a show. I've seen some of your show. I've seen a couple episodes, or I've seen an episode. I saw, whatever it was, whoever was that maybe was the guest that week. That was somebody that they follow, or whatever. And so it's really kind of fun. And we did start it off. The show was originally called Slab Hub, because, well, porn. And this is comic book porn. And we went with that for a long time. And then somewhere about 8 months into our run, I became aware of a comic book presser slash facilitator in Texas that was using that name. And I don't care. That's their business. This is just a show on YouTube. It has nothing to do with anything. I'm not talking about them, whatever else. But I started putting a disclaimer in my postings about them. Well, eventually what ended up happening is somebody who is a customer slash partner, I don't know, dealer, I don't know what their relationship was. Oh, I think it was somebody who does merchandise. They were starting to start to do some merchandise, and somebody on it, this person was doing some merch for them and came across the hashtag, some of my content vis-a-vis the hashtag Slab Hub on Instagram. And they reached out to me at first saying, "Oh, hey, you need to stop using this name because this is some companies doing it, blah, blah, blah." And I just kind of deleted his message and said, "I don't give a damn about you. You're nobody." And then eventually I got reached out to, oddly enough, through Facebook of odd places, because I don't really do much on Facebook, but from the company. And the company then was talking about having their lawyers reach out to me and cease and desist and all this other stuff. And I was like, my reading, I'm not a lawyer, but I do play contract law, for life and stuff. So I have some semblance of understanding of legal terms. So I'm like doing some research, and didn't think that what they were doing was supported because they just had copyright. Copyright doesn't apply in this case, as well as, of course, I was using a parody of a different item that they were parodying. And, we weren't doing the same things. But at the end of the day, I couldn't get a lawyer. I reached out to several lawyers and never got anybody to respond to me, willing to even talk about it. And it just kind of was like, well, this is just too much of a pain in the butt. They were giving me a lot of grief. We were changing the name up to like Rob Vest Stax and Comix presents Slab Hub the show. That was like the whole new name in order to get around some of this stuff. And they had all these restrictions where they wanted me to do this legally, these disclaimers verbally, and it was a bunch of hoops I didn't want to jump through. And then we were just talking one time backstage with Chip, and Chip comes up with the idea. He says, "Well, why don't you call it why don't you rename it to Only Slabs?" Because we were talking about potentially renaming it. And he goes, "Well,
Chip,
he
our
came up,
Lord and Savior,
yeah, our the great that who he is,
the man behind
said
the curtain."
yeah, he spoke down from up above, and he said, "Only Slabs." And I said, "Huh, that's interesting." And I think this was the week before my big summer cookout. And so I'm at my summer cookout and I did some testing, uh, you know, what do you call a focus group testing, talked to a bunch of people at my barbecue and a lot of people were going, "Oh, that's better." And they thought the feedback was great about the switch. And so we went ahead with it. Next thing you know, we're Only Slabs, and we're there to stay. So yeah, if they went out of business, we wouldn't change it back at this point. We've built we've built everything up to Only Slabs, and all the old Slab Hub merch is gone and stuff. So except for some old magnets, but
There was a lot of discussion that was there was a lot of discussion that, like I mentioned during the award show, that was just a nanosecond. Like, what about if we flip it over to my channel because I'm in Canada and screw the law? You guys are going to have to deal with Interpol want to get to me. And it was just, there's a lot of different ideas that we floated. And then, I'm going to ask the first question. Rob, what did you think of when I floated the idea that we put, because everyone should know the truth, it was my idea to go live and make it look like that we were going to retire the entire show and hang up the hat. Rob, what was your initial thought at first? because we ended up doing it. What was your initial thought at first when I floated out there? Maybe we should just pretend that we're going to cancel the whole goddamn thing.
I don't recall if it's not what I thought, but I thought it was a great idea. Because I love nothing else. If you can't have fun with it, why the hell, what are you going to do? Right. So you might as well, come out and you got to tell the story and make it go down a road like, oh, woe is us. And this is the end and everything else. And get people to really buy in and feel
Didn't believe it for a second.
let them feel their emotional attachment to the show and how they feel about the little guy getting picked on by the corporate thugs and whatnot, and by two guys with a press.
Yeah.
When I tuned into the episode, I'm like, I'm waiting for the new show announcement. I'm like, there's no way they're stopping this. They're just gonna rebrand.
Yeah. So it was good. It was a good decision. I mean, once we got around stuff, then it was fun. Like we threw out the idea of since they use our continuous jab on them is the fact that they use the slogan "Two guys, one press." So we have the whole thing of the two guys, one show that we throw in there as well on our title, just as a little dig, right? Because. And of course it pays homage to the old Two Girls, One Cup, and
right.
So,
which weirdly enough, everyone, in case you didn't know, is a Canadian production. Yeah.
Never saw it, never gonna see it.
Yeah, well, you're not missing much.
If you've heard what it's about, that's all you really need.
Yeah.
Unless that's your bag. And in which case, you know what? We don't kink shame. So
nice. But anyway, congrats and that show won the trophy that you currently have. If you want to show that one more time.
Yeah, sure. So Chris and I we were nominated for two different awards, which we won. One was the best collaborative project or event for our category of under 1,000 subscribers, and then we were also nominated for best ongoing series, which I think that went to one of Reggie. I think that was one of Reggie's Awards.
Yeah,
or something.
Reggie ended up taking that one home.
No, we are robbed. No, but so now that just leads us into that obviously this next go round we won't be playing in the small boy category. We'll have to come up there and compete against this year's winner 10-1-1, that Gary B guy. I hear he's something else that we ought to contend with.
That guy's a real ass, the way I hear it. A right proper ass.
I wonder if his co-host will sandbag it. No.
Right. Oh, it's funny. I'm in the market for new co-hosts.
TJ?
TJ's like, I don't know what I walked into tonight. But no, congrats on the show's success. Obviously, you guys built a faithful audience. I mean, every week, and I rarely miss them. At first, I had to catch them on the rewind because I was working Saturdays. But now for like almost a year now, I've been catching them. You have the same people in, you get a few new people in. And it's not just a show and tell. You guys are really interactive with the audience. You have giveaways every show. So there's a lot going on. And like with the different guests, you get a little bit of different flavor every week. So it's not the same stuff over and over. You get to learn a little bit about people's likes, which is always interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of oddly enough, I don't have a lot of people who reach out to me and say, hey, I want to be on the show, right? But I do get a lot less resistance now when I'm reaching out to people and saying, hey, when I'm checking out, I've seen your stuff on Instagram. I love your stuff. I'd love for you to, hey, I do this show. And you go, oh, yeah, I've heard of your show. Oh, I've seen your show. Yeah, sure. No problem. Or, well, I don't go on the camera, but,
there's so just my only statement about that is there's I'm not going to say who it was, but there was one guest that, because Rob doesn't really talk to me about who says no. One time Rob told me someone specific that said no.
Yeah.
And to this day, to this moment right now, I got 8:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I still hold a grudge against that person that said, no, I'm not going to say who it is because that's not worthwhile.
Right.
I unsubscribed to that person. And that person who literally said, and Rob told me this, so I'm only going to quote what Rob said. I don't do show and tell. Well, God damn it. Guess what this person's whole YouTube channel is based off of?
Show and tell.
Show and tell.
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, lots of people have said no, but it was one person in particular, just the way they said it, and it was kind of weird. It was like, okay, whatever, you know. But at the end of the day, fine. You don't want to do the show, no big deal, you know. And I obviously we didn't have a problem finding guests this summer. We brought on a few. We brought on a few big uns, and you know, I can say that, you know, at Fan Expo, I ended up syncing up with the guys over at Shortboxed, and they are very interested. They all are, of course, big slab collectors themselves, and they're very interested in. They have at least one they have one show scheduled for the end of January, and then they're potentially going to have others with different members. You know, their CEO, their head of marketing, all these guys that are like big slab collectors and have some crazy stuff, as you can imagine, that are starting to come on. So it's pretty interesting.
And not for nothing, but that's basically what comic book YouTube is.
Yeah, it's show and tell, exactly.
Unless you do what TJ does,
it's
either break open the book and talk about.
Well, there's show and tell, there's reviewing, and then there's just, you know,
talking about comics,
making stuff up, and sharing your opinion.
And I've gone through that with the 10. I've got ghosted by a few people who I think just look at me like I'm so small, I'm not even worth answering. You know, and
well, and
just let it go. And like you said, there's not a shortage of people who want to come on the shows. So you just go, okay,
yep,
on to the next.
Exactly. And the weirder thing, I think, is people who don't book live shows on a regular and consistent basis think it's odd when I say, like, I'm booking, you know, right now I'm booking February for Only Slabs, and they're like, well, wow, that's kind of far out, don't you think? And it's like, no, it's like 6 weeks. I mean, if you don't want to be scrambling for a guest at the last minute, you're booking a quarter out, and you're following up with folks, and you're, you know, hey, look, I'll pencil you in. I understand your schedule may change. That's 3 months from now. I'll follow up with you a couple, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time to make sure it's still good. And if not, fine. I've got people that I can flip flop around, right? So it's not a big deal, but, you know, that's how it is. You just got to book. If anyone's here thinking about doing a live show on a regular and consistent basis, be cognizant of that. You want to build yourself up of a good pool of guests several weeks, if not months out.
Absolutely.
So I have a 2-part question.
Yeah.
The first question, well, I'll expand on the first question before I deliver it. The first, what I want to expand on is people always say to me, well, who was your favorite guest? That whenever Slab Up or Only Slab comes up backstage, and I always say the same thing. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm actually more about the journey, the story about their first slab, and the one that they're most proud of. So my question is, Rob, what show is most memorable, and what is the book that made your mouth hit the floor when you saw it on Only Slabs?
Wow.
It's okay to say Conan #1.
Yeah, no. I would say that, you know, obviously there's a lot of amazing shows that have been done, and a lot of them are memorable for various reasons. The everything from, even if you go back to the very early season 1, Chris pulling out an entire show of nothing but like art books, you know, was in. I didn't know. We're doing an entire show of nothing but commissions. You son of a bitch! You know, it's like, you know, but. And then, of course, you know, Man Cave has been on so many times and done so many amazing shows. And my love for sci-fi with Jared and doing nothing but Planet Comics for an entire episode was crazy. But I'll tell you, though, because I do watch some of these episodes over and over again, trying to pick up on see what we did, what we didn't do, how things worked, various other things. Um, the show that's my favorite to watch over and over again is with Ilson from the UK. I mean
I was
the
literally just thinking that myself.
the conversations and stuff that we had and the jokes and the fun for somebody that neither of us knew at all. I mean, I only knew the man from I'd seen his name frequently in some of the IG auctions that I was in. Um, and just it was just a super fun show.
Yeah, it was one of the rare times the show truly went international as well.
Yeah. And as far as slabs, I think, God, they hit your, there have just been too many. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Action One I
Right.
mean, it's Action One. I mean, you have to fucking bow down and recognize the greatness that is with that book right there, right? So by far, I mean, Nerdy Girl was for as that show was was a shorter show. She was coming in, literally walked in her apartment or her place, from the airport,
Yeah,
from
it
coming
was a
back. So
little it was unorthodox for
it
that
was
for
very
us.
scrambled,
Yeah,
hot thrown together. But she is a great guest. Has fun. Her energy's there. She's a collector who's passionate about her collection aspect, as well as somebody who's out there selling it. And if you're a true collector, you're probably doing some selling and stuff, and that's fine. Every comic book shop that sells comics for a career, their livelihood, they collect comics too, and so
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. And she has some just mind-numbing books that via her position of selling these books and stuff has allowed her to amass these. And
mhm.
so her collection, I mean, when you talk to anybody, even Man Cave, Lee Polanski, some of the guys who've brought on some amazing books, they've
Right.
all said that, they were excited when they knew that Nerdy Girl was coming on because they know what she's got in
Yeah.
that.
And the amount of you would think that she's like, oh, I spent this. A lot of her journey was trading, and that was
Yeah.
that was the fascinating story to hear about what she was doing. But yeah, the one thing I always say is exactly what Rob did. When Action Comics 1 showed up, I literally said, we could retire this show now and I would be 100% satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's not to diminish the Conan one that's shown up when Gary was
The
there, and
AF-15.
right,
Yeah.
or the 3 or 4 AF-15s that we've
Yeah.
had, or my ASM1, or any book. It's just you have to stop for a second and realize without that comic book, the superhero genre would look entirely different, even if it did exist at this point today.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like she walked in with an NG or 0.5 anyway. Like, she showed up with a decent Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman, and it's just like, okay, this
Yeah.
all right, that's
He's not even in the whole book.
yeah.
So, so to answer K-pop, well, the weirdest slab someone brought on, I don't remember which slab it was, but I can guarantee it was Remy.
100%.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Was again
Rem-
just
Rem-
brilliant.
yeah,
Just
Remy.
so much fun.
Remy,
Oh, there you go.
who Remy brought on, as he calls it,
Yeah.
he is on standby to be a palate cleanser anytime you want. So this summer when we were booking and we had like this series at the time was like we were just starting these big guests that were bringing on some really big books week after week after week, and then nobody wanted to go like after Man Cave or something, and like Remy is just like, oh yeah, I'll go, I don't care. He says, I'm a palate cleanser, and he brought on a whole bunch of weird stuff that and that's just fun to him, and
And
that's
he also brings a great energy.
absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. And he's always sitting there. He's always telling me, anytime you guys need a palate cleanser, he
I'm
says,
your
I'm
Uncle
happy to
Dan.
come on. Yeah, he says, I'm absolutely happy to come on. Right. And so, and that's good. I got a couple, there's a couple people in the community that we're tight with that have said that, hey, look, I don't want you to put me on the schedule, but if you ever need anybody, go ahead and give us, in a rush, somebody, bails on the last minute, let me know. And if I'm available, I'm there. So that's nice to have in your back pocket too.
Absolutely. All right, now I want to switch gears now away from only slabs.
Sure.
So you are currently on your road to 1,000. Now, you were famously known for saying that you don't care about monetization, you won't monetize. But
Hmm.
then a little something called C3 came up, and your monetization found a purpose. So, talk a little bit about C3, how that you became the figurehead of that, and how it's playing into the monetization of your channel once you hit 1,000 subs.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start first with the tail end of that. And it's true. I said from a very early time I wasn't going to monetize the channel. Matter of fact, you go still to this day right now. If you go look in my description, it's in my my silly disclaimer at the bottom. It says something about not monetizing. I have to go now and edit all that crap. But um, essentially, I don't care about making whatever, 27 cents or whatever I'm going to make in ad revenue or any of that other stuff. I have a job that pays me very well that allows me to put two kids through school and buy a stupid number of slabs, right? So I don't, unless I get to the world where I'm suddenly got a million subscribers and they're backing dump trucks up into my house full of cash. I don't need it. So I wasn't going to do anything with it. But then somebody said to me one time, they're all, hey, YouTube's still going to put ads on your channel. They're still going to, the only difference is they're just not going to pay you. And, so you might as well take it or something. And I thought about it and I was like, oh, I don't know. There was still this, I felt like if I monetized somehow the content was then all about that or something else and not about having fun.
It was
And
cheapened in some way.
right. And somebody said, well, then just donate it to charity or something. And I was like, well, shit, that makes sense. I can do that. And of course, so as I was getting closer and trying to think about that and what charity I was going to do or something on there, this year, we started, the whole thing of comics curing cancer came up, and I just said, you know what, forget it. I'm already at this point now. I already do all my merch, every money piece of, every dollar that I make in profit off the merch store, um, fatstacks.com or fatstacksmerch.com. That stuff all goes to Comics Curing Cancer. Then my channel partnership with the Rogue Trader, everything that would normally be given to me as a credit for future pressing, that instead is donated directly to Comics Curing Cancer instead of me getting credits and stuff. So everything on the channel is all about that. And because of that relationship that I had with the Rogue Trader, um, people start asking questions about, hey, what's going on with C3? Do you know anything about this, whatnot? And so I started asking around stuff because it turns out the Rogue Trader's wife works for the American Cancer Society and is the liaison for the event.
Oh,
Um, so ended up having some meetings, talking with them, and then it turns out, well, I started reaching out to Chris, Cardboard Crazies, because he had done it last year. He was the man who created it, came up with it, all this other stuff. And I started going, said, hey, are you doing anything with this and that? And then he's like, oh, he was having a kid on the way. It was going to be due, and he wasn't going to be able to do anything until like after that, because he was scrambling, trying to do stuff, get the room ready and all these other things. And so I said, well, do you mind if I just kind of do this thing? Because people were kind of pushing this whole thing. Do you mind if we do something? He's all, please go. If you need me, let me know. And so it just kind of became this thing where I was kind of volunteered to take point on it and just started doing it. And thankfully, once I started coming with the idea that I don't want to do, last year, Chris had done this whole thing. I'm going to do this 24-hour marathon. And I've done 24-hour marathons when I was younger.
they're
And
rough.
I'm not younger anymore.
Right.
I know what that does and how hard it is, and I have no desire to do that. And also stringing that much content together, if I have to orchestrate it nonstop, that's a kind of a pain as well. So I said, how can I share this burden? And all this, and I kind of come with this idea. You know what? I'm just a channel that's only got this much viewership, but I'm friends with people who have bigger channels, and each of them have this, and we have these overlapping spheres of influence, but we each have reach that's unique to our channel as well. So if I can engage and partner up with these other channels, we can reach out a larger network, right? We'll have a common core that we all have, but then we'll be able to start to reach other people and cross function. So that was the idea and the impetus of the whole thing. And I started talking to a couple channels, and some channels I kind of said, hey, we're going to do this on your channel. Like Mark, I said, hey, we're going to kick it off on your channel on Friday morning on your thing. And he's like, oh, okay. you know, and and some channels I did more about, like DJ was all in from very early on with me on this, and was super. He and Mark were my major support system for a lot of stuff behind it. There was still everybody else that was helping working on it, did things and help, but those two did the most of helping me, if nothing else, stay sane, and back me off the ledge a few times.
And
Uh,
they were going on every single show too.
well, that yeah, and
They,
then of course
they
it
were
was
really
great that
putting in the work.
Roscoe came on every show, and it was just
Yep.
about, it was great. So you always had one of us there. But then some of the channels, it became once I started going, okay, we got this, and I'm started mapping out the schedule for the weekend, and I'm going, okay, who has a show that runs normally in this time? Can we rope them in to talk about it? Just because I wanted to, why have to create special content if we could get John's Comics with Kids, Brian LCS, Tylox the Mighty, right? Some of these other channels that again have their own viewership with overlapping influence, but would align with what we're doing, and they wouldn't have to go create a whole new show. They're already doing a show. Maybe it just runs a little bit longer. Maybe they do a few giveaways or a few auction items in their stuff, but mostly you just have to talk about, hey, go donate, and if you donate X amount, you get put on this prize wheel, right?
Right.
And so that became, and that was the other thing, was the prize wheel idea, was this idea of, hey, I don't want to do just auctions. I want to have something. Somebody just wants to donate and can't donate a lot, but just donate us this amount. If that's all you can do, we'll put your name on this prize wheel, and we'll get you some nice prizes to go around. So we did, and so that worked out great. Next, the only thing that I would say is that the knock on it is that I procrastinated until after I had my kids both away at college. So that meant at the end of September or mid-September, I was finally starting to do the major planning for an event that
Crunch
was
time.
happening at the end of October, because I didn't want to go into the holiday season. I wanted to get it done before the Christmas rush of people spending money on their own gifts and the pressures of donate for this and donate for this for the holidays. So that was a challenge to try to give everything in short order. So I ended up donating a lot of stuff from my personal collection, went into the prize auctions, and a lot of people gave from their own personal stuff. But I mean, a freaking lot, uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then of course that cost me a lot in shipping too. But say la vie. Um, but it made the event work, and I was super nervous about, would we break $8,000 was a lot of money that they raised that first year.
Right.
And you don't know how is this going to do on YouTube with you know and so it was kind of like this, like, man, we just need to be able to hit $8,000. I've got to break what we got to be able to meet what they did last year. So that's why the goal was like initially only 10,000. I'm like, that's a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, if we can hit that, then we're gold, right? At least then I can hold my head up and and feel like we did something good. And then to finish off day one over $10,000 already, that was just such a weight off of me, making the rest of
Right.
the
Home
weekend.
free. Just get to enjoy the content you
Now it's
made.
great, right? And then the fact that this community just kept coming up and turning out, and did it where we ended up raising, when we factor in the grant that we got, $23,000. And by the way, it's not over yet. You can still donate to Comics Curing Cancer. Um, so it's one of those things that it's going on until the end of the year. While I'm talking about it, I'm going to try to find the link so that way I can we can post it in the chat. Um,
You put it on the sticker.
what's that?
Yeah, put it on the scrolling sticker.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, I can. Well, yeah, I can do that. Banners. I can't, but I can put it in the private chat, and you can do all that. So, anyways, there you go. So the fact that we ended up raising $23,000 is absolutely insane. This community stepped up huge time. That's a really big number, and it made me feel really, really good about having donated so much of my personal collection. I don't care because we now next year I'm going to feel the pressure because now we had to hit $25,000
Right.
or more, right? But that's that's next year's problem, and we'll have more planning time. And there's now what's funny is because the success of how well we did, there were two different things. One, obviously, I had a lot of people hit me up that were thinking about doing different charity things and ask me, want to talk to me about what did I do to try to help them with theirs. But more importantly, there's been certain people that either didn't participate because it was short time or didn't know anything about what was going on or else. But there's been quite a few people who've reached out and said, "Hey, when you guys are ready to do this next year, I want to participate." Some bigger channels and bigger businesses and some artists and whatnot that have said, "Dude, I'm definitely in next year. Just make sure you just give me this amount of time, and I will be there." So that's going to be good. So I think that that'll be great. And who doesn't want to just kick cancer in the nuts? I mean, does anybody like cancer? I mean, they're like Nazis. Nobody likes them.
Yeah, you got K-pop junkie. You had Switch Comics earlier, wanting to be a part of it. The
Yeah.
community's growing.
Yeah.
It's actually
So-
it's actually interesting hearing how much stress it sounds like it caused to at least meet last year.
To me
Like,
personally, because I take look, I can joke about a lot of things and I market myself and all this self promote and all this other stuff, but I take very seriously my personal image of my reputation. And so taking on that was me going outside of just here's a guy opening up some boxes and showing them off, right? This is now all of a sudden now I'm representing something else. And so to me, it became, even though nobody else was probably realistic, if we had only raised $6,000, probably nobody other than maybe one person half jokingly would have thought anything less of me, right? And I still would have appreciated me stepping up and the whole team stepping up and doing their thing. But I personally wanted to do above and beyond, and that was a weight that I put on myself. And that's just what happens sometimes when you're depending on what your personality type is, um, that's what you do. And I do it to myself all the time, but yeah, that's what they make medication for, to lower my blood pressure.
Would you consider, or could next year it be actually a week-long event as opposed to a weekend event? Have you given that thought,
Wow.
Rob?
Could it? Sure. Should it? I don't know.
Well, I thought the 3 days was a good time, Rob, because and it doesn't feel like an event if it's no shade on you, Chris.
Nope, just a
But
question.
a week long, people don't plan the whole week to tune in to stuff the whole week. But 3 days is like you're participating with a whole group and
Yeah.
you're looking to show up and be in with those people. You know who's going to be there during those times. And I think it creates a more refined focus. I don't know if you agree with that statement or not, Rob, but
Yeah, I again, yeah, I think if you stretch it too long, it becomes a lost thing. It became a weekend event, which was great. So I think from a primary standpoint, it's there. The weekend is good. However, what I would like to do potentially is, if I was to do anything leading up to it, is that week before, or even the 2 weeks before, whatever, being able to get the channels that are all participating. Really, I mean, we already had we had some good promotion, but starting to talk about it and starting to steer people ahead of time, saying, "Hey, you can go over here and donate now, even, and you're going to get on this prize. You're going to get your name on the prize wheel. You're going to do this, right? Start getting that stuff because we did go into it with almost, I think we had about $900 we'd collected before we kicked off the show. So,
Wow.
so that when you sit there and go, okay, if our goal was 10,000, we were almost 10% of the way there, and you hadn't even started yet. That also was a relief type thing. So I would like to do more lead up promotion potentially, and and potentially early collecting on it. But the biggest thing is going to be the organized getting greater participation. Get one or two of those bigger channels to participate and help you leverage them to help get the word out. Even if they're not doing anything in the interim time, right? Just helping us to spread the word, as well as get some. I'd like to get, there's potential for some bigger name artists to step up and help out next year with some donations of some sketches and whatnot, which I think would be really great too. So
Yeah, it was a great thing. A lot of fun to see unfold, to see everyone in the community participating. Even when you were jumping into all those auctions and you saw the same people in there giving their time, giving their money, picking up stuff. It was just like something really special, right? Not something you see a lot.
right, and I want
And
a special shout out. You know what? I've thanked a lot of people on this stuff quite a bit, but there's two people that deserve a little extra shout out as well too that were really unsung heroes, or actually three people, I guess technically, and that's first Ignacio, when
oh,
his sketch cover went for what it went for, and then there were and two and
it was
both,
insane.
Austin and Pocan Joe were bidding on it against each other, and they ran it up pretty high. Ignacio's willingness to duplicate it and create a second one and allow them both to get it, and them both agreeing to pay to step up and have paid for that commission. That was huge because those three people all of a sudden represented, a good percentage of the money, a significant percentage, not counting the other donations that Pocan and Austin had made throughout that. So I mean, there were some big, also DJ Link. So not only from all the work he did on there, if you go
Spent some
back and
money.
watch that, he and his wife spent a little money during that auction as well too. So hats off to them for all the support that they gave as well. It wasn't always just about the work; it was the people that made those donations, and there were some people who made every donation was important, but there were some people who made some really really sizable donations, and I'm very happy that they were in a position that they could and that they chose to.
And with DJ too, I mean, he put a professional shine on the whole weekend with the work he did with creating the promos, and that was just unparalleled. That was crazy. It was just gorgeous stuff. And
Oh yeah.
also, and just the amount of heart that Mark and DJ put into it, because they were wholeheartedly into it. And then, like you said, that I was watching live when Ignacio was doing that, and Ignacio, just one of the nicest people you can meet again on YouTube. Polkan Joe, another great guy who's just every time you talk to him, it's a complete pleasure and joy. And then Austin LeMay, just one of the YouTube famous artists in our group that we all have a high respect for, with the Austin over Peach and all the fun we have with that, right? But all those guys together, like you said, just like at that time, what was that? It was like a third of what we had raised so far,
I
right?
don't even know.
But it
Well,
was it was
It was
amazing.
Friday night, so yeah. I mean, it was a huge percentage of that time. But so yeah, everybody was great. But it is important to call out certain people and appreciate them very much for all that. And Ignacio, I mean, see, you think about it. He did how much his contributions raised for the event is awesome. But yeah, so it helped all that event helped to get some eyes, and so we moved up the way a little bit, and Yeah. So now here we are. Where all of a sudden I am in that position where I can think about very shortly turning on the monetization. So because we have the watch hours, and I don't know why I always say we. It's you know, well, I mean, yeah, but so the channel has, unlike some people who, I know a lot of people get to that 1,000 and they struggle to get the watch hours. Watch hours is not a problem. We have that in spades. And so we just need the subscribers that we can monetize, and all that monetization will go to Comics Curing Cancer on a regular basis. So all you'll have, so just by subscribing, whether you choose to watch my content or not, you'll be helping to fight cancer on a regular and ongoing basis. So
Now, with that kind of on the periphery, what changes, if any, are you looking to do with your channel in the following year? Or are you just going to
yeah,
keep the ship
absolutely none.
sailing in the direction and refine?
Yeah, no, I've settled into a place where I really kind of like it. I have a schedule for the most part. I release unboxing videos on Monday and Thursday. The Monday mail call, Thursdays can be anything from slabs to whatever I'm doing. And then only slabs on Saturday. Every once in a while I drop an extra video here or there. Either it's informational or I just have too much stuff stacked up in my, so I need to drop an extra video to show something off. But I'm happy with that schedule gives me enough time to balance this, where it's a hobby that's fun and I don't feel like it's work, as opposed to yes, thank you, Biggie doing the Lord's work, not just for me, but I saw he was today on Instagram, he was shouting out several channels, so thank you very much, Biggie. The so yeah, I'm happy with where we're at. It's a hobby, it's fun. My dog's about to jump up. Hi, how are you doing? Yeah, it's that time to eat. I know you want to play and mommy's not home. I'm sorry. Um, anyway, so the channel is in a good place as far as I'm concerned because it's still fun, and I'd like to keep it that way. I don't want it to become work, So yeah, no plan changes unless Chris tells me all of a sudden that he's no longer going to do only slabs because um, it's annoying to him or something. I don't know. Then I don't know what I'll do.
No
I
pressure.
want you to take a pause, Rob.
Right.
Well,
So
to say I'd have to replace him, would imply that he's easily replaceable, and it's always a struggle when he isn't able to make a show. And I understand, he didn't sign on to do this in perpetuity, and it is kind of in the middle of his day, um, you know. And so when he does make a show, it's always a struggle to sit there and go, I can find people willing to do it, but it's always like, okay, well, who is going to be the right match for this guest, or is going to be the right chemistry, or
Okay,
this or that.
it's
The
not
other thing.
about
So,
me. It's not about me here. I do have a question, and this is one I think a lot of everyone who's watching would be quite curious to know once I ask it. Now, Rob is a self-proclaimed merchandising whore. Rob, what was the first thing that you merched for your channel?
for the channel, it was probably
Brian.
it was t-shirts. So
Okay.
the first thing was I like three things. I like comics, coffee, whiskey, and three people shirt. I had that shirt made with a different company initially, and then ended up having it shut down because the logo that my initial first version of the logo, well, actually, even still, this version today, the original company that I was using for my merch refused to print the stuff because they said it had copyright stuff, and we went round and round and argued whether or not you could do, me and copyright, right? And so it turns out that they had licensing from Disney, and so they weren't willing to risk their stuff, and so whatever. But yeah, once I got the spring, once I put my stuff over on the spring, and you can have anything and everything pretty much. It's like there's all kinds of stuff there, obviously, for the shows. But
now that Chris has won his own CBCA awards,
yeah,
how have contract negotiations been with him and his ego?
well,
Gary's about to find out at the end of this show what my appearance fee is now worth.
Right?
Well, fortunately, I think that it's a symbiotic relationship where
Yeah.
Gets a you know Chris's channel for the product and everything that he does drives a lot of viewership, but there's a lot of cross pollination. We've each gained stuff from it, and I think that from that aspect, we just kind of enjoy it. We're friends, man.
Right.
It's true.
And you get the good exchange rate, the Canadian American exchange rate.
Well, it's good one way.
Not as good as my U.S. Australian exchange
Right.
rate though. When I go
Well,
go through.
and that's the other question, right? Why is everyone in Canada named Chris, and why is everyone in Australia named Simon?
The question is, do two people constitute everyone?
Right. Yeah. Well, quite a few, but it's funny because you see those names pop up. Like it's like the name Mike here, right? Like you run into a Mike like every time you walk out of your house or whatever. Whatever.
Jerry.
No, but it's been fun to watch your channel grow, and you could see your comfort level and the stuff you do grow over the last year too. Plus, you took over the mantle of appear. First, Remy Q had it, and now it's Rob Fat Stacks. Where if you go to any channel on YouTube, you just might see Rob there.
That's the thing is like I joke is I used to do before I got into the whole YouTube thing. I was a gamer. I played on MMOs online, 7 days a week. I was on Ventrilo or TeamSpeak or Discord, depending upon what era we were in at that time, where the flavor of that decade. And so that's how I socialized with people. I was never I met my wife in high school and we got married out of college and we've been raising the family and everything else since. So I wasn't a guy who went out to bars and hung out with his butt and do all that stuff. That wasn't me. So this is how I socialized with people. And the YouTube thing kind of took over some of that. I've gone less and less gaming to the point where I think I've logged 2 hours gaming in the last 6 months, or well, not no 2 months, but this has become it. So if I'm not doing my stuff, I do like to hop on other people's live streams and hang out and chat and stuff because that's my socialization now instead of going to the bar and stuff. So yeah. Plus, I
Right.
work from home, so it's like I don't even talk to people at work. So really, this is like, I mean, hopping on a live stream or something to me is just like it's an outlet.
All right, so I've got a comic question, a Rob comic question. I know that you are a fan of a certain year in the future of Marvel.
Yes.
What is your favorite and then least favorite 2099 character or book?
Yeah, that's easy. Well, Spider-Man 2099 is obviously number one. That was my first, and you always remember your first.
Good old Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fell in love with Miguel O'Hara right out the bat. Loved the whole pseudoscience stuff with him, and I have more copies of Spider-Man 2099 number one than any of the others, and all my 2099 number ones, I have multiple copies of them. But by far, Spider-Man has got them all right. I've got the Well, we don't want to get into it. So least favorite, it's probably Ghost Rider 2099. I was never super into Ghost Rider in any shape or form. Believe it or not, I actually was one of the few people that liked Hulk 2099. And I would never really caught on to X-Men. I was never an X-Men guy in any generation, but
Ravage.
Ravage, I was kind of ambivalent. He's kind of like
Ravage.
he's in the middle there. I mean, he wasn't great. I mean, my favorites were Spider-Man and Punisher. Those two, the Punisher 2099, and then Doom 2099 also in there. I'm sorry, those were the top three. Then the rest of them kind of were in the middle, but the least favorite was Ghost Rider 2099 to me.
But it had a cool #1 cover though. That old
Sure.
boily goodness and stuff.
Well, they all did, but that Ghost Rider one is really hard. That's gonna be now at this point. I've decided I need to have a 9/8 of each of the #1s, and I've got most of them. Ghost Rider is one of those ones I got to try to track down in a 9/8. It's gonna be really hard though because they had a set of cards inside of them, and so the books got pressed together with that card, the cards that were insert there, and it's a thicker cover stock. And so once it pressed in there, it's damn near impossible to get out. So I don't know, but Ravage was rough. But you know what? It was a fun. I had a great experience, with Ravage 2099, and later on, I mean, I took it with me to a C2E2 and had Scott Williams, who worked on the book, sign it. And of course, when you pull out a 2099 book and give it to an artist to sign, a lot of times they just their mind, yeah, they don't see it a lot. I mean, maybe obviously I think about it, the guys who did Spider-Man 2099, sure, that may be probably 50% of what they sign. But you bring, Ravage 2099 out, or like for Pat, where I brought out the Doom 2099 or whatever else, they gotta go, oh wow, I haven't seen this in a while, or I haven't done this. But the conversations that it starts up and their experience, some of them actually really enjoyed the characters. And Scott Williams was able to tell these stories about how his experience of working with Stan Lee, that was the first time he ever met Stan Lee, was to
Wow.
collaborate and work together on Ravage 2099. And that was really kind of interesting. What's
And I
my
hear
range?
Super Pro 2099's coming soon.
Hey, I got Conan 2099, so just
That was a good story. Did you read it?
yeah, I did read it with
I
the
was
Thorite.
surprised at how good it was.
Yeah, those weren't the originals though, so I don't hold them in the same regard.
Right.
But obviously the 2999 universe continues on. What is my ratio graded? Let's see, what's your ratio getting comics graded to just buying it? So I buy more of my books raw and get them slabbed than buying already slabbed books, because when I'm looking at older books and stuff, it's a significant cost savings to buy the book raw. Um, and a lot of times actually there's a lot more of them available raw than there are slab books. 'Cause a lot of the guys, especially some of the Golden Age, Atomic Age, early Silver Age books, um, especially if they're not keys and whatnot, or really big keys, a lot of the people who have them in their collections are not slab people. And so I find it much easier to get them raw and go that way. But overall, like of my collection, I slab what I like, things that tickle my fancy a certain way. Sometimes I slab things because, well, I slabbed the last 5 of them, so this one needs to get. I can't have 1 raw and 6 slabbed, or
Right.
some stupid reason in my own head. But I probably roughly, I think it's safe to say about not just over 10% of my collection is probably slabbed.
Now, as we're over the hour mark and as we're winding down, what? First of all, you guys in the audience, I knew if I had Rob on the show and asked him one question, he'd carry the whole show for me. So thank you, Rob. I jest. I love you. I think you're awesome. But
Hey,
you have your
no
1,000,
one's accused me of having nothing to say.
right? You have your
Yeah, that was
1,000
opinion.
sub celebration coming up.
Hmm.
So as we're winding down, tell the people about the celebration, some of the prizes involved, and I myself would like to put together a mystery box to give away on your show too, and
Fabulous.
a casual box.
Of course.
the rule box.
So casual, she's barely wearing clothes. Um, so, so
Hey, look, Chris woke up. Just kidding.
What? Who? Okay.
so as we're doing this drive to hit that 1,000, I didn't even look to see what my count is at, but it was probably, we're like, I don't know, 40 something away, I think. But the as we're trying to wrap it up, yeah, exactly 40 away. There we go. Um, the video that's playing on the channel is the 1,000 subscriber giveaway stuff. So essentially, as we're leading up to it, people can watch that video and tells them how they're going to enter. Some stuff will be given away that night. Some of the stuff, including the main prize, will be given away off of the comment generator or pulling comments from that main channel or main video. You basically just have to go. I stole from Gary. I gave Gary all kinds of grief when he got to 1,000, how he took the one thing that's supposed to be about him and somehow made it all about everybody else, because he's a selfless bastard.
It's
Um,
true.
you
It's
know,
true.
so I borrowed from that because it seems to be the thing to do. And me, I don't want to miss out FOMO and everything. So I put together like 12 or 13 channels that are people who I see regularly engaging on my channel, who have channels that were under 500 subscribers. Now, Nick, I might have to remove from that list now. No, just kidding.
Right.
He hit 500. No, we'll keep him on there. But so I want people to sit there and say, hey, go to the, I'm not, I didn't set goals. I'm not, I'm not holding people, but go take a look at these channels. And if you're not subscribed to any of them, please consider subscribing to any and all that you're not subscribed to, and just leave a comment down below of who you were able to sub up to. If you honestly you're subbed up to everybody, great. Say that you're already subbed up to everybody. I tried telling them to use that hashtag grow together, but the problem is the hashtag grow together seems to now automatically put people's comments into held for review.
Wow.
Interesting. 100% of people who use the hashtag grow together end up with their comment being held for review, and I have to review it like somehow that's like obscene or something. I don't know. So I don't know. Grow together must be mean something else. Wink. Um, so that's all it is. Go there, subscribe to me, help me get to 1,000, maybe promote it out. I appreciate you if you do, to your spheres of influence, and then subscribe to somebody else, leave a note there, and let's grow together as a community. And once we get there 1,000, we'll schedule this up. I'll have an event. We'll have some guests coming on. Gary's saying that he wants to donate a mystery box. Chris has said he wants to donate some stuff. DJ Links has said he wants to donate some stuff. I think Mark just says, I don't want to put the names in I don't want to name people that I can't remember off the top of my head exactly who's committed, because nobody needs to commit. I appreciate it, but I have a ton of stuff here because that's how I roll, right? I haven't figured out, but I got a bunch of these little sketches from Pat Broderick. He did 3 different ones, 2 with Doctor Strange and 1 with Captain America standing in front of the Ukraine flag. I don't know. But he gave me a bunch of these when I talked to him at C2E, or not C2E2, at Fan Expo. I ran into him where I had him sign Doctor Doom 2099. It was the first book of the day he was signing. We told him how about my whole experience with 2099, and he just smiled and enjoyed it and had fun and laughed. And he goes, you know what? He says, normally I charge for these, but here, take a bunch of these, bunch of these, bunch of these. You kick this show off with me with a smile. I appreciate it. Here you go. So I'll have a bunch of these to give away. I have this Something is Killing the Children, number 25, signed by Ariel Diaz. It's limited print run, 500. Yeah, 500, with some shiny foily hilt goodness and whatnot. So that book, we're going to give that away because I'm not a Something is Killing the Children guy. Our grand prize that I'm going to be giving away is a Spider-Man 2099 2-pack. You're going to get the Amazing Spider-Man 365, which is the promotional appearance, the first 6 pages of Spider-Man 2099 in the back of it. And then you'll get a Spider-Man 2099 number 1 in the full glory there in a 9.8. So we got those to give away. I've got a Fallen Angels, or no, this is X-Men. Mike Mayhew cover with X-23, signed and remarked. There's a Shannon Mayer Fallen Angels that's signed. A beautiful 9.8s. Bunch of 9.8 stuff here. Goodies here. Some Star Wars: The High Republic, number 4. It's got a bunch of some first appearances in it. Spider-Gwen, number
Oh,
1,
man.
in a 9.8.
Awesome.
Beauty.
Let's see. How about a Venom 28, signed and remarked?
Incredible.
This book came from Italy. So I ordered this book and I sat on it, and I waited almost 2 years before I got this book, thanks to CBCS. And the artist is Valerio Giorgiordano, and he signed it back in 2021. I just recently got it back from CBCS, but it was a pre-order that I did, but signed and remarked. I just have too many copies of these Venom variants. I ended up with way too many copies of each number, and so give some away. Here's a Venom number 1 from Scan, also signed and remarked.
Love it.
It's not the remark I asked for, so I'll get rid of it. I originally
hate when that happens.
Yeah, no, actually, when I sent this in, instead of a Venom, I asked for him to do a remark of the King in Black up here. I thought having Null up here would be awesome, but
You can't do Null.
you're never guaranteed you're going to get what you want. So, Batman number 100 is the 1 in 25 variant. So where you go? That's the first appearance of Ghostmaker in there. That one. First appearance of some mutant shows up in this book. I don't know. Nobody likes Remy
some
LeBeau.
Cajun dude.
Yeah, some Cajun. There's first published appearance. Not the first chronological in the story, but it's the first published appearance.
Rob, who's the cover artist for that book, Rob?
Oh, that's just somebody we never heard of him. I'll have to look it up here. It's yeah, I don't even, what does it say? It's somebody's a nobody, doesn't even say cover art. Art Adams.
Yeah. Woo!
And Art Dan Green. Oh, cover and art. Oh no, Art Adams. There you go.
There you go. You can start at LCS with that price.
And then the last book in the giveaway pile, one of my favorite books, totally undervalued. The last comic book cover by this artist. Nobody's been able to dispute that to me. I'm always asking people, if you can show me I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. But I've had other people say, yeah, that's their belief too. The GOAT himself, Alex Schomburg, with Invaders, king size,
just incredible.
Invaders, in an 8.5 Newsy. If you don't own a comic book with Captain America punching a Nazi, are you even a comic book collector?
Do you even comic, bro?
Yeah, really. So we'll give that away there too. So
you'll probably go big for your 2000 then, right?
Show us what you got for $2,000.
Oh, now, before we get off the show, it needs to be mentioned that your co-host in crime here, Chris the Comic Vet, is also over the 900 mark and approaching his 1,000 as well. So
that
great work for you as well.
It's all I can do to stay ahead of him. It is a very difficult measure, especially since I don't do giveaways every 100.
Yeah.
And
I bought my way as far as I can go.
And when you both pass Taylor Winder, is there going to be a party?
You mean Chris hasn't yet?
Right?
Because he's over 900.
Yeah,
and
I passed Taylor.
Okay, yeah, I was to say.
Well, I thought Taylor's over 900.
Oh, he is, but barely. He's been retreating. He's as he said, he was as high as I think 914 at one point, and he's down to like 907 or something. He's been losing subscribers. It's actually kind of depressing. I don't know what's going on. People, if you haven't subscribed to Taylor, help him out, man.
Now, we pick on Taylor, guys, but that's only because Taylor picks on us, and we all pick on each other because we're buddies. Taylor is an awesome person, and a very great heart, very generous guy with a lot of artistic talent as well.
Oh,
Another great
sweet
artist in
beans.
our community. And if you haven't subscribed to Taylor Winder, you need to go over there and sub to him. All picking aside, he is a great dude. Someone we are all fortunate to call friend. So, all
And,
joking aside,
and he's not as cranky as he pretends.
he
No,
is
he's
not.
all heart. No, he's all heart. I'll be
Gents,
honest.
did you have anything else for Rob this evening?
Rob, is Sidekicks in semi-retirement, or is that going to be on the schedule at some point soon?
The only way I see Sidekicks coming back at this point really is if Slot comes back. I ran it for a little bit without him doing the rotating guests or doing the panel discussions were interesting, and I could have kept it going, but at the end of the day, it was like you know what, I have enough stuff that's going on, and it was beginning to feel a little bit too much like work when I wasn't sharing that burden with somebody. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just let it kind of go and just worry about this other stuff. So
And you had a clear flagship show on your channel.
yeah. So I mean, it doesn't mean I couldn't still do little things here and there if I wanted to, a panel discussion or something on
Special
something.
events.
But sometimes, but you know what? It's just easier not to have it as a regular, reoccurring show, in my opinion, for me at this point stage.
Nice. TJ?
Yes, sir.
Oh, did you have anything? Are you good to go?
No, I think I'm good. I'm good.
All right, so we're gonna go around the panel real quick. TJ, what's
I have
coming up
I
for
have a
you,
question.
sir? Oh,
I have
yeah,
a
go ahead.
question. So, Rob, let's say people are the Marvel and DC, they're watching your channel.
I thought about doing this.
Actually, give us that answer. Answer your own question. That's a good one.
I think
So,
I know the answer.
so Marvel and DC are watching my channel, and they go, you know what, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. We should get him to do something. So, you get your choice of any character in Marvel or DC pantheon. Who are you going to take over the creative direction with, and what are you going to do with them? Well, that's a very good question, Rob. Allow me to think about that for just a half a moment. Well,
Speedball.
part of me would, yeah, you know, the bounciest hero is an interesting idea. I know it would have at least one loyal reader, and you know, as much as I think that people would expect me to say, you know, Spider-Man 2099 or something. I mean, he comes up, he gets some stuff done. I think he, you know, small doses is fine for him. I don't think he needs a regular ongoing thing. My love being, you know, the sci-fi stuff right now. Would really like to, and with how brutal Tom King was to Adam Strange, I would love to be able to take something with Adam Strange and just go off on a bunch of sci-fi adventures again with him and just go do some great classic sci-fi stuff. Just bubble gun, you know, bubble helmets, ray guns, and rocket ships, baby. I mean, let's just do it.
That would be awesome.
I mean, it probably won't sell well, but you know, I'm gonna have fun with it. And damn it, if it's for me, that's what it's all about.
Right? Good answer, Rob, on Rob's question.
I thought it was a weak question, to be honest. But,
Well,
you
fair
know,
enough. Let me ask you a question then, Chris.
sure.
When are you gonna get a haircut, you hippie?
Let's pass.
I do appreciate, Gary, that the fact that you had a thing here that nobody with more than a quarter inch of hair was allowed to be on the panel today.
You gotta have themes, Rob. People like a theme.
Now you all grow a mustache.
Themes are respectable. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, but all right, TJ, what's coming up on your channel, sir? Before I get giggling.
So, Transformers Tuesday turned into Transformers Thursday this week because I've been lazy, but I introduced everyone to the Robot Master.
Oh, yes.
Next week on Transformers Tuesday, which hopefully will be Tuesday, they may or may not harm Bumblebee in Transformers 16.
Uh-oh.
We'll find out. If I read this book and you don't see it on Transformers Tuesday, is because something happened to Bumblebee, and my sister-in-law watches all of my Transformers videos. She will tell my wife, and my wife will not allow me to have Transformers anymore if something happens to Bumblebee. So,
Your wife loves Bumblebee, huh?
so I've had to at least once, if not twice, check with people who saw Transformers movies before me to make sure nothing happens to Bumblebee, because we will have to leave the movie theater and I have to watch the rest later.
Um,
She does not play about Bumblebee.
on a side note, that new Beast Wars trailer I thought was really good.
And in
Doesn't Bumblebee get stabbed in that?
I was about, in the middle of the Beast Wars trailer, somebody grabs him by the throat. I'm like, why did y'all show my wife that?
That's like one of the reasons I brought it up. That trailer was pretty good.
I think my favorite part of the whole trailer is the very end. I don't know the character's name, but this guy Anthony Ramos, he just hops out of Mirage while Mirage is transforming.
Oh, that was slick.
He does this walk out and just keeps stride, and it's kind of badass and everything. I like, I don't know what it leads to, but I like that 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, that was a great ending.
Right.
All right, nice. Mr. Not That Kind of Vet, what's coming up? Ooh, Rob and I are doing it at the same time. Mr. Not That Kind of Vet, what's coming up for you?
Just to expand on that, I'm happy
Hello.
they got Mirage and Wheeljack, because there was a little cameo flash of Wheeljack in that trailer as well.
Oh, I hadn't like watched it in slow motion or broke it down or anything.
Yeah,
But
there's a couple channels that have broken it down and talked about the different robots that are there, and there's that little, like, they hit the pause button and Wheeljack is there, like, with the full, like, side helmet that he's got going on. I was like, yeah, and I've paid some respect to Gen 1. I can appreciate that. Well, in case you guys didn't know about this, I'm the co-host of a little show called Only Slabs. It's happening this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And
Would that be the award-winning show, Only Slabs?
yes.
Oh wow.
Yes, it is.
That's impressive.
It's the award-winning Comic Book Community Awards.
Awesome.
Still, I still get choked up thinking about it. It's just because, like I said, when we pulled it off, Rob and I were just like in that crossroads, like, what are we going to do? And now we've been blessed with this award, so it really means a lot. That's all I want to talk about. That this Saturday, everyone, please join in with Rob and I. It's going to be a hell of a good time, and you may see an Action Comics 1.
Ooh.
well,
Probably not.
really quick.
A picture of an Action Comics.
Yes.
So really quick, since he won't do it, this guy Chris the Comic Vet has a live show on Wednesdays around 6 Central, where he allows community members to come on, show their new comic books for New Comic Book Day. He won't talk about it here, but I'm going to talk about it. That's it.
Thank you, TJ, and TJ, who often shows up on that show, as well as Gary, and a cornerstone piece of that show is Rob himself. Okay, you don't need to make me small now. That's okay. It's not about me, Ingrid. There we go.
All right. Next Tuesday on the 1011 guys, we have Roscoe on the show.
Cool.
So that is going to be a fun show. One of our cool artists, and like Rob said, a big person that was helping out all over the place with Comics Curing Cancer, and he sent Rob a great cover. If you haven't checked that video out on Rob's channel, Rob, make yourself big when you show it, sir.
Man, what a labor of love that was. That was fantastic.
There's me.
That is nice.
It's so much fun.
And of course, we have Savage Saturday Comic Review coming up every Saturday. And but that's it. We're going to plan out. I got a few more guests in the works, trying to get some scheduling figured out, because it's we are going to be off December Christmas week, because it's Christmas week. Who wants to make content, right? We'll have a little something here and there, but we're not going to do any live shows unless it's
Best of Gary B.
Unless it's a hangout. Right. And Rob, what's coming up for you, sir? Like we haven't talked about it all night, but go ahead
Well,
one more time.
Yeah, Saturday, only slabs, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Join us this week as comic book letterer Justin Birch is on the channel, making his second appearance on the show. The following week, we have Madam and Master Blaster, and then we will also take a hiatus off on the 24th. I don't know if there's going to be a Lonely Slabs or not, but we'll come back to finish out the year on New Year's Eve with a Comic Collector Geek.
Ooh.
So a lot of great
Alrighty.
shows coming up in the way.
So, those of you watching on the rewind, thank you so much for checking out the channel. Thank you for watching this show. Please go to the description below. Everyone that is on this panel and our guests, their links are in the description. Please go sub them up. And everyone in the chat, thank you so much. We appreciate the great turnout. Thank you for coming out to support everyone. The
Feel free to
community is
go.
great.
Feel free to
Always
go
love it.
donate to Comics Curing Cancer still.
Yes. You can still donate to Comics Curing Cancer. And what an event it was. And thank you once again, Rob. Thank you to Brian, LCS, for the awards show.
Thank you,
And
Gary.
just a big thank you to the community in general. And until next time, guys, keep it casual. Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code Keep It Casual for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.